Hello, everyone. My name's Stephen Pickett. I think we're going to be showing Slido at the front there. So if anybody has any questions as we progress towards the end of this, if everything goes well and you're actually interested in asking me some questions, I hopefully will answer some of your questions. So I think it's up there for you to scan it in, and then we can go from there. But we'll get started. So as I said, my name is Stephen Pickett. I'm Chief Strategy Officer for Live Group, and I just wanted to thank you all for attending. Appreciate it. So a little bit about me. I was born in Toronto, Canada. Growing up with my pet beavers, drinking maple syrup every morning out of my igloo. Coming to Barcelona was kind of the furthest thing from my mind. Did nothing where I actually thought I would end up being. But my journey has had many twists and turns, and it's taken me to this moment here to be here with all of you. My experience has been in growing teams and organizations and helping them realize their full potential and helping move them forward. I've been struck in our industry by the passion and drive by the people at the heart of this industry having to do the things that would leave most people in a catatonic state. But despite this, I've watched this industry turn out tremendous magic. And this talk isn't about how we're doing things wrong. It's a celebration of the things that we're doing right, and a nudge that with the right approach, the right thinking, we can impact so many more people. MICE 4.0 has this resonant tech-sounding name, and I promise you that this talk isn't about tech. I'm the last person to talk about tech. I don't know anything about tech. That's not me. The truth is, though, MICE 4.0 isn't found in servers. It isn't found on your smartphone or your VR headsets. It's found in each other and the connections that we make. And human connection has never been more important. Social feeds, algorithms, and things largely out of our control have steadily polarized us, and problems are ones that we must solve together. Our industry can be a catalyst for that connection. So, rather than show you graphs, data tables, as I said, which I know nothing about, I'm going to tell you about this picture and the story behind it. And yes, it's taken from the web. Life is full of little haphazard connections, moments shared between people that linger in the mind and ultimately change and challenge us. I've traveled all over the world, and for whatever reason, this little exchange in a pancake shop 5 years ago in Amsterdam sticks in my mind and is relevant to the power of our industry. I was in the middle of an unplanned layover in Amsterdam. Plane was having some issues, ended up staying there for 2 days. And I was coming back from visiting my brother in Dubai, and I wanted what any Canadian would want: pancakes and maple syrup. So I stopped here. This is the pancake that I ordered. Yes, in the age of selfies, I took a picture of the pancake. But I also took a picture of myself. So here I am, beard a little thicker, little less white than it is now, and I'm traveling. I'm an extrovert, and I'm looking for connection and experiences. And as I said, I'm stuck here in Amsterdam as much as you can be stuck in Amsterdam for 2 days. So looking for this connection, I turned to my right, and I tried an opening line to the person beside me. And I said, "That's an interesting accent. Where is it from?" And I received a terse, "It's British." I was shot down. Clearly, I didn't have the right content to build a connection. But with a few minutes of confidence built back up, I used an experience that we were now sharing. How about that unique service Michael is providing us? It worked. I made eye contact, we started some small talk, and had a laugh. I had found the right shared experience to start the foundation of a connection. However, the conversation died down after a few laughs. and that was it. Two strangers have a happenstance connection and a meeting that sparks that brief connection. How many moments like this have you had in your life? You meet somebody quickly, in passing, elevator, an event like this, it's fleeting, and then it's gone. And in our industry, that's what we try to create, but have them resonate longer. How many have lingered in your mind longer than they should have? There's a model to that connection, something that's simple to grasp, tricky to implement, yet holds the power to evolve the work we do. And I call it ACE. Audience, content, experience. Three focal points that, when combined, invariably lead to lasting and powerful connections. So whether we're trying to connect with content, with experience, with clients, our industry is built on making connections. And I think we need to take it to the next level. I think we've been failing, and I think we know how to get to that next point. Remove an element, and you might have something that works part of the time, but not a guaranteed connection. Where we stand at the cusp of, with MICE 4.0, what will push us forward is this appreciation and understanding that seeing your audience as a sea of individuals. Not a collective blob, a sea of individuals. A group of people just as varied and interesting and unique as the group of people here in this room and outside. Building content and experience around them is our multiplier, our catalyst to powerful and long-lasting connections. I think back to that pancake house. Here I saw the person sat beside me. I tried to understand them on an individual basis. I caught the accent. I saw their demeanor. I took in a million little signifiers of personality. And I was shot down. So my first attempt, while a little ham-fisted comment, did nothing to speak to a shared experience, and it wasn't riveting content clearly, but I tried again. I used audience understanding to comment on a shared experience with better content. I mentioned that I was wandering through the city and asked what they were up to, checking out the antique shops. So much for shared experience. So I gambled and hoped it wouldn't show on my face. I offered my company to them. They paused and agreed when I asked if they would want to join me on a walk. We went out the door. However, I don't know anything about antiques. I don't know anything about Amsterdam. And in fact, I'd never been to Europe before at that point. So it was a nice brief walk. Now, I promise you, I know it seems a little odd, I do not focus on every little interaction I have to the extent that I'm explaining it to you here. But I want to illustrate that these dynamics, even if we're not aware of them, are in play in what we do. The ACE model guides our connections and our events, and an understanding of connection only makes our ability to execute on great events even easier. So let's explore it in greater detail. So, it's the audience that is our end client, the most important people in the room. Satisfy them, and we're going to have a satisfied person paying the bills, as well as the audience. Evolving our approach to our audience is at the heart of MICE 4.0. Deep audience understanding is the catalyst in everything that we do. It makes our content more cutting, our experiences more memorable, and the connections we make more lasting. I believe that will elevate our industry, making sure people make deeper, longer-lasting connections. We dehumanize and depersonalize our audience. I mean, we give them names like delegates and audience and stakeholders, language that evolves, as I mentioned earlier, the idea of a blob. It's a horrible thought, a blob of people sharing the same thoughts, feelings, opinions. We know it's not true, yet we persist in doing it that way. We don't plan an event for Daniel or Sophia or Jaden or Mira. We just plan it for a group of people, an audience. We lose sight of who the individual is that we're trying to reach. So as I noted earlier, I'm an extrovert. I get my energy through socialization in larger groups and in collaboration. Introverts receive their energy from alone time or in smaller social groups. Yet, our events are traditionally planned for one type of individual. Why don't we change this? Historically, it's been hard. Audience insights notoriously are hard to grasp, and the data is retroactive. How was the event you attended last week? People grow, and whether by external forces or internal introspection, I'm not who I was 5 years ago, and I would hazard to say that a lot of people in the audience are not who they were 5 years ago, especially with the pandemic. At the same time, we've been struggling to gain impactful insights. The technology landscape has evolved their data science to the point where they can make us believe that their phones are reading our minds. The technology then is out there. We know it is. The science exists. The question is a simple one. How much more impactful, resonant, or even for all of us in the room, KPI achieving would our events be if they were built around the individual? If we built content and experience around people as well as the tech giants serve us their powerful ads? That question lies at the heart of MICE 4.0. So we at Live Group, we believe that we've uncovered the secret sauce for all of this, and we call it audience DNA. We gain insights into each individual in attendance, whether virtual or in person, before they attend the event. 16 questions, 60 seconds, personalized event. It informs us how to create an experience, build content, and drive connection at tremendously high levels. We use it working with our clients for their internal communications as well as in event building. We're excited to see how the rest of the industry approach audience forecasting and the analytics and insights, because without that, we'll never move the industry forward together. And until we can understand our audience in greater depth as individuals, we're going to be stagnant. And we want to move our audience together as individuals. So, understanding your audience as individuals is the most important thing you can do before you plan anything. Think of both the extrovert, the introvert, as well as the many other personalities out there to help inform your creative process. Use or build technology to help you accomplish this. Think of your audience for your next event or piece of communication. Imagine them not as one group or one mass or that blob, but as distinct people, each with strong personality likes and dislikes, especially in the social setting. Ask yourself, how are they different? How are they similar? Develop your experience and content to cater to a broader range of individuals, not just the vocal minority, but the silent majority. Not just the vocal majority, the silent minority. Now, this slide may have been a little bit more relevant a couple days ago. Canada hasn't been in the World Cup since 1986. We did score this time. We didn't score in all in 1986, so we are making progress. But in our industry, we work with tremendously creative people that have brilliant ideas. And we have clients that have deep, intense, important messages that they need to share to achieve their event objectives. We've excelled as an industry in delivering content for the masses in an effective way, and that's no small feat. However, this will forever remain a limiter for us unless we understand how tailored individual content based on people's preference connects them more. Not just in the components of that content, but how it's delivered. So think about the World Cup. As I said, first time Canada's in there since '86. Being a Canadian, for this example, I would generally use hockey, but for the room, I'll stick with football. So my sons, they're going to want to watch the hockey, slumped on the sofa over their phones, commenting out loud with some social media playing out in the background. My friends, they're going to watch it in a bar, debating and talking amongst themselves, an audience of 5, good drinks in hand, just as important as good game. Me, I'm the loner a bit more at that sporting events. I'm going to watch it at home with the screen and the sport just to myself. The content is fundamentally the same, but the components around it change radically. Each scenario, everyone is consuming their content in a personalized manner that connects with them. But when we are delivering events, we serve it up one way for everybody. We don't personalize it, and we don't give people options to personalize it. So how often do we focus on the content and not just its delivery, but its meaning? How often and how will it resonate with people? How will it make people feel not only in the moment, but when they walk out the room? Will it be gone in a fleeting moment, or is it going to resonate with them longer? I would argue that we place so much emphasis on the experience and not enough on the content and delivery combination. It's often rinse, repeat. Same as last year, bigger. Many times, the content hasn't really resonated with the audience in an individual manner, to the level of expense that has been put into the message being delivered. As I said, many times the content hasn't really resonated with the audience in an individual manner to the level of expense that has been put into the message being delivered. When they walk out the room, venue or video call, will they remember the core message? The content must resonate with the entire audience in a manner that will stay with them long after the event has concluded. This creates the connection. It then lasts beyond the event of the day. The emails, blogs, vlogs, content follow-up emails, messages, reminders, all viable and important ways to keep the environment from that single day protracted out. To provide more content, especially in a tight attention economy as we're facing now. Like the example on how people will consume, for this one, their sporting event. So, as an industry, we're good at content, but we're limited ourselves by trying to be all things to all people and using a uniform approach in our delivery methods. Understand how to take a core central message, but tailor it to each individual lies at the heart of MICE 4.0 and achieving a deeper connection. When planning content, ask yourself, if I wasn't interested, what could I do differently? If the answer is nothing, you have an addressable content gap. Reach out to another personality types to understand their interest in the content for its delivery. For example, in events, if I wasn't interested in networking, what could I do? The answer shouldn't be scrolling on a smartphone. We focus so intently on the experience we want to provide for our audience. The fireworks, the lighting, the badging, the music, creating an entire room of vast and amazing sensory experiences. That's an understandable way of thinking for an industry largely staffed by extroverts. But it doesn't work for everybody. Bigger, bolder, louder, brighter, it can seem amazing, but for some people, it's going to shut them down. This issue is compounded by the fact that going against this group thinking can be an act of bravery. Be honest with yourselves. How many times have you been in a meeting with a client or even your own team, had an idea that was a little different or unique, and you quashed your own voice? You didn't speak up. Equally, think about the times you've not had an amazing experience, but your friends have been impressed, and you've gone along with it, pretending to be how happy you actually were when you didn't enjoy yourself. What if we thought about how to help different people be comfortable in an environment created just for them? One that could be more inclusive for everybody. Experience is just as core to what we do as content. And when combined with audience understanding, unlocks powerful moments. That's what ACE is all about. The advent of hybrid has widened the possibility for experience. No longer must we bring everybody to the same physical location. We have the means to cater to a more inclusive and diverse audience. It's up to us to do that now. When I hear people talk about a return to the normal, I cringe. It just is a return to the old same experiences. It's the same experience that some people love, yes, but not everybody. So let's find a path that creates an environment to help people be their true, authentic selves. That allows the content and experience to resonate equally for everyone. That is how we are going to get the best out of each individual and collectively our industry and our guests. So, the industry is based towards a particular experience profile that only speaks to one type of person. Finding this bias is scary, but needs to be done to evolve our industry to reach its full potential. When experience is right, people can be their true, authentic selves. Test it out at your next meeting. We are in the office. Ask everyone what stops them from voicing their true selves, whether it's the format, proximity, physical space, or fear of commentary. Appreciate that everybody digests information and content at different paces. Begin to build an optimal meeting format with them to understand how the experience between people can be so radically different. Now, I appreciate that the journey that I've charted isn't an easy one, but it is a necessity to get to where we need to go as an industry. We hold in our industry this incredible power to bring people together in an increasing polarized world. Get it right, and we're going to unlock MICE 4.0, new value for our clients and powerful experiences for our audience, for the individual. We have nothing to lose and everything to gain, because you never know the difference that a connection can make. So, update, back in Amsterdam, the walk was going well. I didn't fumble too much. She seemed engaged in our discussion. But knowing I had interrupted her day, I said I'd understand if she had other plans and wanted to leave. My chance meeting was coming to an end. However, she responded that she was enjoying her time and would like to keep chatting. We did. And 12 and a half hours after we first met, spending the day walking through Amsterdam and ending up in a cafe, having a drink, and people watching. I needed to leave to collect my luggage because my flight was in 3 hours, and it was 3 o'clock in the morning. So, it's a connection on a chance meeting and a wonderful day with a total stranger that honestly, I'm never going to forget that day. No expectations, just two people being their true and authentic selves, open to whatever would happen. We here in this industry can have that same impact in people's lives. While only one day in a life full of days for me, I encourage you all to be open to creating the same lasting, impactful, memorable experiences for the individual in your audience. We can do that. We can unlock that potential. Take the ACE model away. Don't even apply it to your next event, as I mentioned earlier. Try it with a business meeting. Ask yourself, the audience, who's attending? What are the different ways that they'd like to be engaged? How can I account for the differences, and how can I account for the similarities? Content. Based on that, what do I need to say, and how do I need to say it? And for experience, how can I ensure that from the invitation to the moment the meeting begins, people can be their true, authentic selves? How can I set them up for success? See how it changes your next meeting, and then see how it can change everything else. People will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget the way you made them feel. We have that power. We can do that. And I would encourage everybody in this room, in your next meeting, your next brief taking, how can you unlock the power of the individual? Now, just before I end, kind of bring that story of Amsterdam to a conclusion, the lady that I met 5 years ago in Amsterdam, her name's Libby, and happy to say she's now my wife. Thank you. So we were married in August of 2019, and after the pandemic, I was finally able to get my visa and move to the UK in November of 2021, so we can finally be together 4.5 years after we met. That's connection. We have that power in this industry to create that type of connection. So here we are on June 9th of this year, 5 years to the day after we first met in Amsterdam, and we went to the same pancake house where we met. Now we both work and live in London, with me moving to the UK. So I never let her forget that I persisted and I took that second chance and asked again. And she never lets me forget how bad my original opening line was, that if it was better, I wouldn't have had to try a second time. But the moral of the story, two people that had so many reasons stacked against them for never being able to meet, let alone thrive, were in an ideal environment, having a shared experience with content that was relevant and an audience which was captivated. It can be life-changing. I'm a testament to that. Go make that difference in your everyday lives. You won't regret it. Thank you. If you're interested in taking 60 seconds and answering 16 questions, feel free to click on the QR code there, and it'll give you access to it, and then you'll get your profile a couple moments after that. So I'll leave that up for a moment. And if there are any questions, be happy to answer. How has our digitally connected world of Meta, Tinder, and TikTok make us crave deep digital connections over meaningful ones? That's a great question. So as I talked about before with the attention economy, people are having all these different levers that they're being pulled from, where their information is going. It then behooves us to go to the individual from a content perspective and understand how they want to consume their content. So when I gave that sporting example, people watching their content in different manners. Having an event like this, that we're not streaming online, that we don't have TikTok, that we don't have all these other areas to be able to go to that audience, I think is inhibiting how we are getting our events to be more effective. Meaningfully, if we know that that's how people are connecting, we need to be where they are, and we're not there. So unless we start to go to those places and have those conversations with people, those connections are going to continue to be very cursory, and they're not going to be meaningful ones. As I said, I met my wife. It took 4.5 years, but we were constantly online. We had that digital way to be able to communicate. So you can have that deeper connection, but if that moment of connection is not there, it's going to be harder to do that. And so we need to start to go to people where they are, and it might be other social media apps. Are individualized events a pipe dream? How do we manage such complexity? So as I said, at Live Group, we use audience DNA, but I think a lot of the time it ends up coming up for, are we asking the questions? Who's in the audience? Are we making sure that we're looking at different personality types? I don't believe it to be a pipe dream. I think we can accomplish it. We're not going to have 8,000 people and 8,000 different types of events, but you can make sure that the communication around that is more personalized. And you do that by asking the right questions. Who's at the event? ACE model. What's the content? How am I delivering it? What's the experience I want them to walk away from? Some people are more engaged than others. Some people consume their data in a manner that's going to hear what I'm saying. It's not going to resonate with them until 15, 20 minutes later. Some people are going to watch it and understand it a little bit differently when they potentially see this online for a second time. But because of that, if we don't start to try to make those first steps forward in understanding who our audience is and trying to create the content in a manner that is specific to them, we're not even going to be able to get to half the audience, let alone worry about the multitudes of people that we may want to get to. I have 10 seconds left. How's that for timing? Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day. I appreciate the time. Thank you.